and my sister sitting next to me, and her name is Evelyn Corbett. We are both at the ripe old age of 85 years old for me, and she's about 3 or 4 years younger. That's fair enough. I can only remember my youth when I was about 5 years old. And at that time, my father was to leave for the United States. And I asked him, would you please go? I want to go with you. And I cried and I cried. And he says, you go in the house and get your hat on.
Your father left when you were approximately 5 years
That's
old?
correct, yes.
Do you remember anything before he left?
Oh, yes, I remember other things.
What kind of
one
things?
time I remember that there was no bathtubs or anything at home to bathe with. The only chance we had to bathe was to go to the river, and I don't think it was in the summertime at that day. So we went to the bathhouse. In the bathhouse, we had our clothes on and everything, and when we were supposed to get out, the clothes were stolen. My sister's clothes were stolen and mine.
Do you remember that one?
And all was left there was the union suits. The ones that in the back, the ones that
the back comes down.
The back comes down. That's the only kind they had.
Yeah. Well,
And
you had to. It
he
was very cold there.
He took us
wasn't it?
both in his arms. He put her on this side, he put me on this side, and he took us home. That's one thing I remember.
It was cold?
I don't remember the weather.
Did you have
I only
shoes?
remember that part.
Do you have,
Do
did
you
you have
remember
shoes?
the bathhouse?
Huh?
Do you remember the bathhouse?
Sure.
Do you
What
remember
does
the
it look
bath?
like? Certainly did.
Oh.
What does it look like?
I can't exactly
Uh-huh.
recall that. Maybe you better. You
Yeah.
remember
Do you
something.
remember, what did it look like?
Certainly. A big room
Yeah.
with
Hot steam.
steam to come me down. I don't,
I can describe the bathhouse because it had about 8 or 10 steps to go up. And it's really hot. When you get to the top of it, you have to carry with you some cold water because you can almost faint.
It's that hot.
That's real.
Is that the only place you went to take a bath?
Yeah, my father took us there.
Oh, so
no,
you
we used to
didn't
go
have-
to the river.
Uh-huh. But you
There
didn't
was-
have any bathing facilities in your where you lived.
No, and the women didn't have any bathing suits either. They used to take a sheet around themselves,
Uh-huh.
and when they put the sheet in the water, it ran away. It started to swim, the sheet, so they were nude. The women were nude. So I know some boys, bad boys, want to see the women nude. So they get up on the tree, take the boats from the river, and throw it at them. When they throw them at the river, I had to go back in again. So we always saw them nude.
Ah.
See, that's it.
How many people in this community use the
Well,
bathhouse?
it's a big city. Today it's 100,000 people there.
But in those days?
In those days, there must have been about 40, 50,000. It's not a Jewish town, but part of it was
it's a
Jewish.
big town.
But
Huh?
how many people at one time
Not a
would go to the
village.
bathhouse?
It's a big
Oh,
town.
no, they'd come out a whole day long. They'd wash their clothes there at the same time.
So who
They had
changes
rocks.
the water and
Huh?
who changes the
So
water?
Change water in the river?
River.
Oh,
Really
it's the
change the
river.
water?
I'm talking about the bathhouse.
No, we were going from the bathhouse. That's all we remember. He took us home, and that was it.
How often did you go there?
Not very often.
Not very
No,
often.
not very
So how close was the river to your home?
Oh, it was about maybe a couple of miles.
Wasn't it cold?
In the
Summertime.
summertime.
Oh, in the,
And-
sun, the,
and-
ba- in the wintertime
and
you
they
didn't take a bath?
They had groves.
We went to my cousin's house.
They had a lot.
Uh-huh.
They had a lot of
You
things.
remember.
A lot of things growing around the river. And it's very, very vegetables and things grow. So we used to take them
Not
and eat
a
them.
river.
So you could eat?
Not a river. A lake.
It was a lake?
Yes. Not a river.
Well,
Wasn't it? Well, was it? Whatever. It was a river or a lake.
With-
Not
you
the
know-
And a lot
Daniel.
of people came
Not
there.
Daniel.
I remember some horses drowned there. That's how deep it was in some
Well,
places. there.
lakes can be very deep.
Yeah, that must have been
Sometimes
a
a
lake.
lake,
So
yeah.
it's not a river.
That's fine, doesn't
We
matter.
got it. We got
You
it
got
safe
clean,
now.
didn't you?
Huh?
You got clean,
Oh,
didn't
sure we
you?
got
So
clean.
that's all that matters. So you were very young. Your father was still alive when you went to the lake? Your father was still in?
No, that
in
was he
Russia?
was gone already. I was older already.
All right.
I was
so
older.
at approximately
And
around
we
5
also-
years old is when
And
he
we
left.
also took the water from the river to wash our hands. We used that water all the time. There was no water.
There's pails of water in each
You know,
side.
with the thing that you carry like the
Arms.
Chinese,
Arms.
with
Yes.
with
Right.
yeah, carried on your shoulder, and we put 2 leaves of green big leaves on there, so it wouldn't spill out when you carried it. You know, it used to go back and forth.
Why did your father leave Russia to come to
United
My mother
States.
said, if he stayed there, she'll have a dozen kids, and he couldn't
Uh-huh.
afford it.
Uh-huh.
So she sent him away.
She sent him away.
That's right.
And how long was he here in the United States before you
From
came?
from before the war.
Uh-huh.
1904, when the war
Maybe-
broke out between
No.
1918 was the war.
1917. Yeah,
1917.
the
It
war,
must be
war broke
maybe
out.
1914, you like. Or
No,
earlier.
no, no,
Ma-
no.
No, when? When do you think?
Was that before the, I
The,
don't know,
the First World War.
The first war was 1917.
Yeah.
1917.
So that's when he
He
left.
must
right
have been the
before
United
war.
States. He used to send money, but then it stopped altogether
But did
because
he-
he couldn't get through.
One
Did he have
year.
some place to come to in the United States?
Oh,
No,
yeah,
he
yeah.
lived with Mr. Schwartz.
Okay, so Mrs. Schwartz.
He had a feta.
Yeah.
Oris. To Oris
So
she
he knew,
went.
so did you know Mrs. Schwartz when you were in
Oh,
Russia?
yeah.
No. she
No, no,
left
no,
From
no.
Odessa.
So then how
My
did he
father
know
worked
Mrs.
for him.
Schwartz?
What with the Lord?
Oris.
How did
Oris,
he know to come to Mrs. Schwartz?
because a fellow by the name of Oris, also a relative of my father, see.
Uh-huh,
And he is the one that introduced him.
I see. You
And-
didn't know her in Russia?
No, he didn't know
Uh-huh.
the Schwartzes in Russia.
Uh-huh,
And they had a laundry.
right.
Mr. Schwartz had a laundry. And Oris had a laundry too. And my father learned the laundry business.
Okay, so how many years were you separated from your
Uh,
father?
when, from the war, it must have been in 1911.
7 years.
6-7 years?
Yeah, about 7 years.
Wasn't that difficult to be without your father for 6 or 7 years?
My mother managed it. She looked all the time. She tried to get information, what's going on in the United States. She went around all over.
So did
She
you
was never
did you
home.
get letters from him?
Oh yeah, at the beginning, sure.
But then you
So
got nothing.
that stopped.
So you really didn't even know what he was doing.
Right.
Who knew what happened?
So you really,
So we tried to get to the United States without him.
but
and
you
my
grew
mother-
up during your very early years without a father.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and myself and my mother tried to make a living anyway without him.
Well, sure. So you were the man
How
of the
did we
house
do?
then. You were the man of the.
I sold tobacco, I sold candy, and I sold candles for
Where did you get these things?
bought 'em.
Black market.
I sold it. I had a little box, and I had
And you
a
must have been
strap
like 6,
around
7,
it
8 years old.
like a butcher boy in
6,
a
7, or 8
train.
years old.
In the train, yeah, sure. I
And
had my own-
did my mother? Did she also do this?
Yeah,
kind
she
of-
stole my stuff and ate it all up, all the goodies she stole. She went, I hid it under the bed, and she'd go eat up all the good candy.
Oh, so
and
the
I-
candy
so I
she
had-
would go under. She knew.
Yeah.
She
You
knew
know,
that-
even in those days, she was smart.
Yeah, she was.
So
and-
she went under
and-
the bed.
And I asked my uncle,
Aye.
I says, ooh, I used to count it. I was
Yeah,
stingy.
yeah.
And my uncle said,
Then you
I says,
stingy then.
who took it away? He says, the cat on 2 feet.
Oh, the cat on 2 feet. What about Morris? What did he
No.
take from you too?
No, he was just a little boy. He was a good little boy.
He was a good
He
little
didn't
boy.
ever did
How
anything.
did your mother manage with the 3 children? And
We,
My
we,
mother,
smu- we,
like
smu-
me.
we smuggled during the war, when the war was on, we smuggled leather, sheets of leather,
Where
like
did you-
pelt.
yeah.
When
Where did you
from-
get them?
Somebody paid to carry him to the place. There was another relative, my mother. My mother was a child that didn't have a father or mother, and they pushed her around
So
as
she was an orphan?
as a maid.
9
Yes,
months
that's right.
old.
She was an
No,
orphan.
Mother and father.
They pushed her around to all the relatives. They were rich people, and she used to be the maid for them. See?
Oh. And she was a like a little
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cousin
yeah.
or a niece
Yeah,
or a.
that's
Orphan
right,
nanny.
yeah.
So she had a very
She
rough
told me a
life.
story when she met my father, and they wanted to go to a show. They had shows there sometimes. You take her over the fence and steal in there to see a show. They had it in life.
Times were different. Times were
Oh yeah,
different
it was
then,
all
yeah.
together over there.
So what kind of a house did you live in when you after
Now I
your
can
father
tell you
left?
by the house. No, we owned it.
Oh, you owned the house.
We owned it.
So was your
Partnership
father?
with his brother.
So your father had a little bit of
Yeah,
money when
it wa-
your mother married
So
you?
my mother rented the front room.
Uh-huh.
There was only 2 rooms. We stayed in the kitchen and put some cots there, and the other room was the front. And she rented it to a barber. And the barber had a wife. And I remember we got the first electric, when the barber came in, the first had electricity coming. And there was one bulb hanging on a string.
And that was the only light bulb in the house?
Yeah, that's all.
How big was the house? How many rooms?
I said there was 2 rooms.
Just 2 rooms,
That's
the whole
all,
house.
that's all. No bathroom.
No, you went to
No.
the bath. Where'd you go to
Outside in the
Oh, you had an
street.
outhouse.
No outhouse, hardly any outhouse in the street.
What'd your father do for a living?
He used to buy.
Fisherman.
He was
That's
a
right, you told
fisherman.
me he was a fisherman.
He buy the river. He buy that river for the night by the people that own
Uh-huh.
it, and they put the net on there, and
Yeah.
you take a chance. You pay for the river.
Did he
If the
catch
fish
anything?
came in,
Yeah.
and if it didn't, you
Did
lose.
he catch
Other than-
anything?
Oh yeah, they had
Did you ever
fish.
go with him and help him?
No, not that night. Too young. Too
Oh,
young.
you were too young.
Too young. The only thing I knew that he was at the market, and he used to sell fish, and the sands were blue.
Did he come home? Did he smell?
That
From,
cold.
did he smell from fish when he came
Oh,
home?
sure, smell of it. So did my aunt. His sister is the one that took care of us.
Yeah.
That's where she lived.
Not no children.
She lived with
He
his
had no
sister.
children?
He had a red beard, you know, and he sold caracal is
Persian lamb.
Persian lamb,
Coast.
Persian, not coats,
No.
just
Pelts,
the
pelts.
pelts, like the bunches of them like this. And they used to travel too.
And you lived with them.
Yeah, but all the time.
So you were very young.
Yeah, very.
And the reason you went to live with them is because it was very difficult.
No,
for your
they
mother
didn't have
to-
a children. They liked to have them.
But wasn't it hard for your mother also to be raising all these kids? And at least there was one that they sent.
It came easy. It was nothing too hard for her.
So then why did you send one to the aunt?
She
Why did my
wanted to
mother-
live there.
Oh, my mother wanted to go
Yeah,
there?
because
it was a fancy house,
the other
huh?
two was something. No,
Well,
no.
why did you want
She
to go
rented.
there?
They rented the place.
Why did you want to live there and not with your mother and your two brothers?
What did she
Couldn't
know?
afford me. My mother couldn't afford to give me.
Well, why didn't she send one of the boys instead of you?
I don't know.
No, that's the way it went. Who knows?
Maybe she
Who
needed
knows
the
when you're
boys there
young?
to take care
You're
of
just guessing something. We
Yeah,
don't know
you
what
just
happened.
did- yeah.
Later on.
What
later
do you remember about living in your aunt's house?
Oh,
And I remember the
I-
cat.
I remember
on the beach.
he had a samovar on the dish,
Yeah, I remember
and
too.
he used to drink. He had kidney trouble. He drank hot. He could drink a whole samovar, just drinking it from a saucer.
Hot water?
With
Well,
with
that's
cube
the
sugar.
samovar.
With cube sugar.
Yeah. You know, my grandmother should rest in peace. Your mother, I remember. She used to come home. She used to boil water,
sugar.
and she used to put the lemon in there, but the sugar she would hold in her mouth
That's right. That's right. Yeah, she used to do that.
because you waste it
But
when
she
you
was
put it
going a
inside.
whole day long to find out where my father, if there's any news of any
A
kind.
whole
to
day
get.
it took.
Oh, she looked around. Then we carried that. We got paid for it, and I sold the tobacco and tobacco I sold, and
the
cigarettes
first,
and everything.
But Frank,
Uh,
what did
And we made 40,000 rubles.
How much money is that in
A
dollars?
lot of money. That time the ruble was a ruble. See?
So you never went to school?
Yeah, I did go to school.
Oh, they had school?
How I started the school, I'll give you that story too. There was a niece of my aunt's. She had a niece, and she was a very educated girl, and she said, my aunt said, we'll have to teach him a little bit of the language. So we had to travel to go to the other part of town, to go.
we walked.
Yeah.
I
And,
remember.
and there was the jail was way above there, and the mill that they did the corn, they grind the corn and the wheat there was on the other side. I remember it very well. See, that was the jail for the city over there. And we used to come to her, and she taught us how to read a clock, and she taught us a lot of things. And we knew a little bit of Russian. We learned Russian,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I went to Hebrew school too, as an cheder. They call it a cheder. That's the beginning. And I learned over there too. And my aunt said to me, if you can learn a blood gemur, that's a high. Yeah, I don't know what gemur is a big book.
Yes, I know what a Gemara is.
Yeah, and if you can learn it without to remember the whole thing, I'll give you 50 cents.
And what language did you all speak then? Yiddish?
Yiddish.
Yiddish, sure, plain Yiddish.
Just plain Yiddish.
All Yiddish. Yeah.
And maybe a little Russian?
Well, Russian in school we learned.
But
We
no
knew
Hebrew?
Russian. We knew
You didn't
Russian.
learn in
No,
Hebrew?
Hebrew.
So
was
when you
never-
read a book,
Yeah.
when you read a book,
Yes,
you read it all in Yiddish.
couldn't read Yiddish.
What if it was
Couldn't
written?
read, just spoke the language. I
What
can't
if it
read
was written in Hebrew?
We used to go to shul.
So if it was written in
Oh,
Hebrew,
Hebrew, yeah.
you read it in Hebrew.
Oh
Not
yeah,
me.
sure, you could read Hebrew.
Okay,
yeah.
so you could read
But
But
Hebrew.
the Mamelution is their mother language is
Yeah.
it's Jewish. That's
It's
all.
Yiddish, yeah.
So everybody that we
Spoke
associated with.
Uh-huh.
See, I remember where she lived. There was a shoemaker there. There was a tailor there in that area. There was four or five little bungalows like and they also lived there. See, and they had a gramophone is a Victor thing that you turn and you play a record.
One had
The one that she has here now, they had that already in Russia. So they used to play them. We used to go around. We enjoyed it so much. We used to go around it. And who owned it? The shoemaker owned it.
So what did you do for food?
The food, I'll tell you. There was times when there was no food. But there was times, I can remember, when they used to, when the time, it was the end of the season, and when the white beets, you know, the sugar beets, used to go through our town, where we lived.
They grew wild?
No. They used to put them on wagons, and they lay them out on both sides, and they traveled maybe 10 or 12 or 20 wagons at a time. In the front, there was a man on a horse watching it. If they fell down on the floor, because there's cobblestone streets.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it shakes, it falls down.
Right.
And one man on a horse on the other end of it, too, to protect that somebody shouldn't steal. You know what the kids did? We stole them. We stole those beets.
Well, how could you do that without
We got up.
Nails
There was a fence that we got the board of the fence to go one way, so we can get out. And the minute you get in, you can't get back. See, see. So we had it open, waiting for the guy that goes first. And you go run over to the wagon, put a nail in the big piece of wood, and go over and stick it on the wagon and run back quick. And they tried to chase you with
Did
the
they
wagon.
ever catch you?
No, never
But
catch.
you can't just eat beets all the time.
Just a minute, let me tell you the story about the beets. It goes on. So we used to catch a few beets and bring them home, and my mother used to make cookies out of them.
Oh, sure.
They were sugar.
Sure.
That she made.
So she made cookies.
And the flour that we have, we didn't get any flour. It was terrible. It was the hull from the flour that falls off. And so you grind the flour. That's not even.
Feed it to the horses.
It was, yeah, that's what they give the horses to feed. And it was so hard you couldn't swallow it. And she made cookies out of it. That's how
But you
we
can't live on cookies.
Potatoes, we got potatoes too.
How'd you
And
get potatoes?
in the
Same way like
in
this.
the end of
The stick and the nail.
and the day of Saturday, the muzikers, they call them the farmers, the peasants would come with the horses, and they try to get their goods bought in our town, where I ran.
Right in the morning.
They'd come in with the wagons and line up, you know, straight one after another. Some of them had a lot of garlic, some had wheat.
Like a farmer's market.
Yeah, like
Farmer's market.
like a market it was.
Farmer's
And
market.
we looked forward to it too. So they exchange, you see, but they take advantage of them. People took so much advantage of those people. They faked it and everything. And then the rest of it, if we wanted garlic, we didn't have any trouble. You just climb under the wagon, and they had them braided. And you know how garlic comes braided. You used to turn it off and take it.
So you really didn't have a lot of luxuries. You had potatoes and you had
None.
beets. And did you eat meat or chicken?
Chicken.
Fish.
Fish.
She'd bring fish home. A lot of fish. Well, we'd get some meat.
But nobody had any money coming in.
There was butchers there.
Yeah, but what did your mother? Did she work? Did she make money doing anything?
We always had money.
From what?
I sold the tobacco.
Oh, so you were the only one that earned money.
My mother
And my mom.
sold the fur. First.
Carrying those things
I know.
to bring it over from one place to another, she got paid for it. And she once put it on to me, not once, many times. I used to work with her on the street. You know, transport. And I was so skinny, you tie me up with a rope, and it didn't hold. So that thing hung out. I had a big heavy coat, you know, called it a chignet. That was to go to school, because I started to go to school later on. I started when I was a little older. When I studied with that niece of her, I went to, you don't go to school unless you have examination first. They give you a test. So if you pass the test, then you can get into school. So it was kindergarten, I guess. It was the first class. Over there, there's no, it's the first class. Nachi, they call it, Nachi. The first class, and I passed it very high. So they says, you better have him take another test, because he's too good for that.
Did you go to school there too?
No.
Gymnasium. Yes, I did.
All right, wait a minute. Go ahead.
You went to school
Explain
there
it.
too.
Gymnasium.
But you were in a different class than him. So what kind of things did
I
you do?
went to
in
commercial school.
What did you learn in school? You just played?
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember. What about Morris? Did he go to school there?
No, never.
Never went
Not
to
him.
school.
He was too young. So I passed it, barely got in there. And that was it. I got into school. And before the semester was over, the war started. That was it. No more school.
No more school.
You know what they did with the school? They used to bring the soldiers that were at the front, coming back so bad, so ragged, terrible.
Oh, you used to see
And
them
they bring
coming
them
through the
back up
town.
again. Yeah. At that time, I was also big enough, you could travel free on the railroad. So if you say brother or tavarish, and a guy would put his hand out and lift you up on the goddamn train, and you travel.
Well,
So
where did you go?
another town. So I'll tell you where I went.
Because your mother was here.
Yeah, she left in Medici, and I went myself. And I went
For how long? Just
25 miles. Let me explain.
Okay.
I'll give it to you the whole thing. I got to the town, and I wanted tobacco, because Odessa is the port of Russia. And I thought I'd find maybe they'll bring in some tobacco, but it's a small town. But I came there, and you know the money I didn't have. I borrowed the money from the landlord. My aunt lived. He had a store where he sold galoshes, not shoes, but galoshes.
Yeah, I know what
Galoshes,
those
separate thing. That's the store. So he loaned us some money, and my mother put it in the coat and sold it out for me. She sold in all the money, and I went. I got there and I started inquiring where I can get some tobacco. And I found a place. The people had sacks of it. I don't know where they had it. So I said, I'd like to buy a sack of tobacco. So they looked at me and said, you have money for it? I said, yes, I've got money.
And in your
They were
young
not-
age, they sold you tobacco. Didn't matter. You didn't have to be
No.
an age. You could, anybody could buy
Didn't,
it.
oh no, but there was no government anymore. It's all Russian government. It was just starting to get Bolshevik. The government was just starting. So anybody could do
Who ruled the
anything.
country? Just a bunch of Bolsheviks?
No, it was terrible. I'll tell you all about it too, what happened there in town. So I went to the, then I had to transport my tobacco after I stayed here. I transported tobacco to my town. That's 25 miles. That's about 30 miles from
You couldn't be
Medici.
very old, 8 or 9 years old.
That's right.
Boy, such a businessman.
Well, you learn how to do it. You learn.
you know
live that.
something? Times are tough. You have to learn how
Oh,
to do it. You just,
That's the way everybody lives there. Everybody gets old. They get old when they're 10
it's
years
not
old.
like they are here.
No, it doesn't even count. So I went to you know, they have they call it a droshka. You mean like a taxi
Carriage.
driver.
Carriage.
You know, a carriage, a nice carriage with the rubber wheels. Remember? Rubber wheels on the carriage. You see it sometimes still in movies. You can see it sometimes here. So I came over to the man. I says, I'd like to go to Medici. So he says, how much it will cost me? I can't tell you how much. Says, I have the money to pay. Says, I want to ride with you in the front. So he says, okay, you can ride with the front. There was nobody in the back. That seats in the back. He says, what do you have? I says, take me over there. And I
She
want.
was in the back?
She was nothing. She had nothing to do with it. I tell you, I went alone.
Oh, you went alone.
I says, put the tobacco right where the legs are. And if anybody stops us, you tell them it's hay for the horse.
Yeah, sure.
So he brought me to town, and I brought it in, and I was selling already cigarettes anyway, so I was on my own. I started to sell the tobacco. And all the kids and everything that also, they wanted to. I says, I'll sell it myself. So I put in a lot of water in it, and it swelled up. I had maybe 2 sacks of tobacco. And I used to sell it by the little glass. So many glasses for so much. That's where we made the money. And I used to go out every day, hotter than hell. A whole day long, get burned.
And you brought the
And I
money
stayed there
home?
a whole day.
You brought the money home and gave it to your mother.
Sure, we saved it together. And that's why we wanted to go to the United States. We had enough.
you had to
we
have
got a
enough
man.
money.
We got a man that's going to take us, and he took us to the borderline, where the border was, to go across, to come to Belgium or what was it? What was it? Romania, I think it was.
Weren't you scared?
You don't know those things. You do it. I'll tell you another thing. When we had a cousin that lived in. He was a rich man. Supposed to be a rich man.
Oh, Warsaw.
Well, I'm going in from one to another. There was a cousin of ours that came to us and it started to bombard it. Don't you think it lived every day was easy? It bombarded the city because each like the Germans chased out the Polacks, The Polish chased out the Germans. The Russians chased back out again, back and forth.
Did they ever come into your little town and try to chase you
Sure,
out?
all the time. There was nobody there. So who took over?
No militia.
You know who took over later? The thieves, the people.
Looters, right.
The looters. They went over to
So
the...
when you left, did you leave your house and everything that was there?
Just a minute, you're going too fast. So the looters would come in, they'd go to a place where they had all the things that belonged to the government. There was herring, there was salt, food of every kind. There was everything. I mean, so they took and they'd stop horses, and they'd go to your town, and they played the Russian anthem, and everybody opened up their doors. Isn't it wonderful? We have the Russians back because we weren't afraid of the Russians. They'd go into each house and clean them out and take it in the wagons. They were an army of their own. They could do anything they want. And at night when they robbed, you could hear, oh, help, Gewalt, Gewalt, Gewalt. You couldn't go out. They were robbing the people at night.
But they never hurt you.
Well, some people killed them. What do you mean hurt? There was a man that was manufacturing candy in our town, see. And they had geese in there in the house, and they had dogs and everything. You know who they killed? They took the men, fought them. The women, I was in that house. They took the women, put them in the bed, and put pillows on their faces and choked them to death. The men that fought, they chopped off their fingers and hung them up by where the door is.
Yeah.
They hung them up. And everybody was killed. And he had an alarm system. And there was nobody there because there was no army to help him.
Oh.
That's what went on.
You remember all of this?
Well, she didn't go around.
She was young.
I saw bombs falling on the other side, and I was on this side.
What were you doing while he was
She was a
gone?
kid at home.
But
She was
when he went to look on the trains to
How
get
do you
this
know? You lived
She
someplace
didn't know.
else.
I was running around. My mother was running around
So
too.
what did you do with your aunt?
She
What
was-
did you do in your aunt's
She
house?
stayed in the
I
house.
was in the house.
What'd you do all day?
I don't know.
She can't remember.
Cook, you clean.
Oh, no.
No, she didn't remember.
Light with the cat.
She was edelgepatzt. She was very delicate.
Yeah.
All she do is steal. She steal my cookies all the time. Every night she said, and I says, I got to find another place because I have nothing to sell.
So Morris, when he came to this country, he was a baby.
Yeah, and he went to school, and he finished high school.
But how old was he when he
was
came
young.
here to America?
About 11 years old. 10
That's
years
not a
old.
baby.
But, no, he was about 8 or 10 years.
That's not a baby.
Well, what's the difference how old he was?
So you
He went
were-
to school, I went to kindergarten. And I came 14 years old, they put me in kindergarten.
At
They set
14?
Me, yeah, they set me down on those little tiny stools.
Why did they put you in with such
Because
a
the
little baby?
language, I couldn't speak
But you
right.
never put a 14-year-old
That's what they
boy in
did.
little time.
And I sat down with my feet like this, and the teacher came by, she forgot that I was this way, and she hit me down here, and she fell flat on her face. And the whole class
A
laughed.
bunch of little kids.
Yeah, oh, they had a lot of fun, because it was funny. See. And when they made fun of me, she put a down strap on him and put him in the corner. I remember
So tell
her.
me, how did you get to this country?
I can go back.
Steer.
Now,
Steer.
my father made a connection with a man that was in the war, a soldier, and he says, this man tried to make some money, so he contacted a lot of people that had wives and children left over in Europe. He says, I'll reach it for you if you give me $1,000 for the letter. I'll bring the letter to him, and I'll make contact for you. The man came to our town, continuing, and he found my mother. He found my mother.
It was a small town.
Yeah, he finally found her. And he said, my father, he said, we had a cousin in Poland, in Warsaw. We had a cousin over there. And he was willing to help out my father. So they made the contact, and then this man was manufacturing caps. He had a house where he was manufacturing caps. So he took us in. He took us in there, in his house, his cousin. And we stayed there. And we saw a streetcar, and I remember everybody, the kids used to jump in the back of the streetcar. Moshe did too. I think he got hurt a little bit that time, and we told him not to do it. We stayed there a while, and the money, my father sent the money you know.
But this is when he was sending money.
Yeah, he started.
you said it
no,
stopped.
he sent the money to my mother. We should go we should go to come to the United States. But before that, I forgot something. We had another man that came over that was given money to. We made a contact. This cousin made contact. He says he'll bring you across the borderline, and you'll be able to get into to this town. From there on, we'll make the arrangements to go to the United States. So this man took us in a wagon. He took us. There was another family also, and she had a mother that went with her, and a little boy. Right. They took us, and they took us over to the. Oh yeah, we went to get across the border. I forgot I'm going in. We tried to go by ourselves with our money, but we went to the place to go across the border. This man disappeared. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do the job.
Us.
So we left.
He dumped us.
Yeah, he left. No.
He dumped you.
Yeah, he dumped me, and so we stayed there a while in a place, and they said you can't stay here forever. You'll have to leave. So my mother said, all right, what should I do? He says, you leave all the belongings that you have here. You have to pay for the place that you stay. So my mother left it. The balke, you know, a balke is a thing that you knead bread. She took that with her. That's where she made the bread. You ever see one of those things? It's way back. They used to raise a baby was used as called a vigela, which is there was putting the baby like a cradle. It's like it was rounded out. It's from a piece of wood, but it's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's where the baby was born, and then the kid was fishing it, and then you'd make the bread, and that tastes much better. Well, she took everything away, and we had to walk from that part of town. It took us a whole summer, barefooted, whatever we had on our clothes, and my mother took us back to Padicha. They couldn't recognize. We looked. I think she looked terrible, so skinny, nothing left of us, till we got. Then till we got back. That's what I missed to tell you about it. Well, anyway, now we're back into the where they make arrangements to. So finally, this man that took us, he took us in a place, and we stayed there. We had bread, and everything was given to us, and it was a good town. And she even remembers they had the horse walking the streets over there. Girls making dates. In that time, she knew it. Yeah, she saw it too. That's
Did
right.
you know what they were doing?
Yeah. They used to.
So you had, by this time you had come back and moved
We
in with
stayed there
your
a
mother.
while. We were there in that place to go to. So my mother, instead of buying, he sent money for second class. He wanted us to have a nice to get clothes, and she took third class. That's down below.
Steerage.
With the animals?
Steerage.
No animals. This is a regular program.
It's a regular ship.
Oh yeah, regular.
Steerage. Forget it.
Steerage is with animals. There's no animals there. There was no. So we used to stand the step trying to talk
No
to.
beds.
Huh?
No beds.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, sure, bad.
Bunk beds.
Huh?
Bunk beds.
Well, one on top of the other, like a train.
Yeah.
Same thing. No, it was okay. The only thing what we did, we saw so much food. I used to steal the food from the table and hide it behind the pillow. So it's
Well, sure, you were
especially
you
herring.
were used to not having very much.
Especially herring. Loved herring. Well,
How
then
long did it
we
take?
got cake too.
How long
because
did it
we-
take?
About 7 days across the ocean.
7 days.
Yeah, it was tough. Couldn't eat.
How long did it take
Got
us?
sick 7 days.
No good. 11.
7 days.
We were on the ocean 11 days. The last trip the Rock Star Line made.
Red Star Line. Red Star Line.
The Red
I
Star
remember
Line.
better than he.
What company
And
owned
we got
the
acquainted
ship?
with this. Huh? We got acquainted
what,
with the ship.
What country owned this ship that you went? The Red Star Line. Who
I
was
guess
it owned by?
that's the name of it.
Yeah,
But
United
what was it owned?
States.
The United States was it?
Yeah,
a ship?
United States ship, yes.
And they came, and you had to
The last
catch it
trip.
in Russia.
No, we went to Antwerp. They
Where's
took
that?
us to Antwerp with a train.
Uh-huh.
We
Where's
went by
Antwerp?
train to Antwerp.
Belgium.
Yes.
Yeah, to Belgium.
Also, so from Belgium you took the ship.
That's right. We went
Uh-huh.
to
You went from the
Yeah.
ship, and the ship goes from Belgium to New York,
New York to Ellis Island.
to Ellis Island.
Yeah,
Right.
but So when we had those people, when we went in the train, this is the other family. He was some big shot.
Minneapolis,
He was a big shot, yeah,
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, and he was in the army. He was a officer of some kind. So, and we went through the tunnels with the train. It was a funny thing. She said his name was Usher. She said, Usher, she gets in front there. That means, but it means in English, she says, look at this, it's getting dark all of a sudden. That's the way she said it. It was so funny. We thought it was funny.
To a tunnel. We got the tunnel.
You didn't know.
Yeah, she's good dark.
You didn't know.
No, of course we didn't know where we were going, but we went on the thing.
So was the weather nice on this ship, or was it?
And
the only thing, the boat rocked so bad
Yeah.
that you throw up everything you ate. You couldn't live.
Oh.
Not anywhere. Very few people. Well, we came with the cousins there in the United States. There was 2 cousins, boys, that came with us.
You might know that Sydney,
And it's Eddie.
They came over here with you.
With me, yeah.
Mama.
The only one that was not sick, that was Eddie. He ate like a horse, and everybody else was sick. We run to the rail and throw it up every time.
Oh.
Well, couldn't help it. That's the way. You're not used to that.
So then when you came into Ellis Island, how
Yeah.
many people were on this ship?
Oh,
And
a
they-
whole
were they
ship
all
full of
Jews?
people. Yeah,
Were they all Jews?
No, not all Jews. But I'll tell you, on the ship, we got acquainted with the soldiers. They wanted to know something about Russia, and they used to steal cakes and give us. Remember, used to steal the cakes and give us. We'd be down below. They were on the upper deck, so they bring us down.
Bring me down candy, and sit with them and talk to them.
It was
Big
funny.
boys.
It was a good time, see.
So when you came to this country,
Then when it came to Ellis Island, they put us in first. And oh yeah, I got to tell you, on the boat, I prayed also. I was bar mitzvah, so I had to pray.
did you have a bar mitzvah when you lived?
Oh
in
yeah, in Europe I had the bar mitzvah.
You had a real
my
bar
uncle-
mitzvah
Oh yeah, I just sure.
with herring and
No, they didn't make
They
no.
didn't
Just
make
before
parties?
the Pope, there was no food.
no food. You just read the Torah.
Yeah, that's all. I knew it
But
well.
your father wasn't there.
No, it wasn't
No.
there. My uncle was there.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to go to pray every day because he got up about daylight, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was dangerous to go at that
Uh-huh.
time. But he got up. But so I says, I'll put him on at noontime. You know what you do at noontime, don't you? You put him on and you say the buchas and
Oh,
you
yeah.
take it off.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to do it. So I did that. So he found out I was doing it, and he says, from now on, you're going with me.
So where did Morris have his? He was bar mitzvah
No.
here.
Too young, out.
No, Morris was bar mitzvah here.
Never,
No,
never.
Morris wasn't bar mitzvah.
He wasn't bar mitzvah.
No, I don't think so. No,
No.
he wasn't. He wasn't bar mitzvah.
My father didn't believe it.
But
He's a
you
rebel.
but you did it.
Yeah.
But my father went to the synagogue and everything account of my mother because she asked him to. See,
But he didn't want to.
no, he just lived a different life. Already he was
He
an
was
American.
socialist.
He's American.
Socialist.
Yeah.
So when you came
He
into
was a
Ellis
socialist.
Island,
In 1905, he told
Yeah,
me he
socialist.
had a shovel in his hand, the Japanese-Russian war, and he was out also fighting. A lot of people were killed at that time if you meant the Russian-Japanese war. It's 1905, and he was one of the socialists, whatever he was.
so what did they do when you got off the ship? Where did you go?
Ellis Island.
Ellis Island,
I got stuck.
and they said,
Held me back
and
because
who saw him first? There was a keyhole there, and he was on the other side of the room, and we were
How
on
did
this.
you know which day you were going to be there?
Well, there was connections made. I don't know. You knew when the boat is coming in and everything. Through the boat people, the ship people. When you go on the ship, and when we're on the ship, you knew it. So, who looked through the window? Did you look through the hole? Yeah, she looked through the hole. She says, "I know my father." She says, "How do you know?" He says, "He has big fish eyes." That was true.
Oh,
He was.
smart,
He told me he was dressed with a blue suit, and he wore a
Round coat with velvet.
golden chain,
yeah,
golden chain with
That's
a
his
watch, with
that's
watch on
his
it.
hat.
Yeah, that she told. So when he came out, it was like that. See,
Papa. Said,
Yeah.
how did you know me? If they
You know,
know-
that's amazing that after all those years, he didn't, he kept it in his head that he had a wife and he had children.
Oh, sure.
There were
Listen.
a lot of men that forgot their wives and
Do
children.
you know what happened to him also? He told us. While he had a store, and he sold the store, and he had money. And somebody knew about it, a fellow that knew about it, or he heard about it. And he says, Reeve was his name, Robert. He says, Reeve, come on, let's have a drink, we celebrate. And he was dressed up, he just sold the store, he just had the money with him. He goes in with him, and the guy gives him a Mickey Finn. You know what a Mickey Finn is?
A drink?
A drink.
Puts him to sleep.
Yeah.
And he took him with him, took him on his arm, and he
It
put
was
him on the
raining.
other side of the bar, and he sat there. He lay there, sleep. See. Then the police came over and woke him up, and they see that this man is not a drunk. Finally woke him up, and he found out that all his money was gone.
Oh.
So he says, I'm going to start all over again. See, that's already made some money, and he wanted to send it. So he didn't know he had to start all over
Oh,
again.
he was just
to make
working
money.
with the ironing shirts or laundry.
When he sent for
How much money can you make in a laundry?
a nickel shirt iron, 6 cents,
And
that's all. That's all they could get.
$1,000 to send for us. But they stole it from them.
So later on, he made some more money, and what he did, he cut himself. He used to smoke. He'd always smoke. He cut his cigarettes in half so he could start saving money. I
And
remember
he sent that money to you so you could come over.
Yeah, so you could come over, right. And he had an apartment ready for us with Mrs. Schwartz. He lived as a
Schwartz.
bachelor by Mrs.
We
Schwartz.
lived-
He
Yeah.
lived by her in a room.
How did you feel when you came to this country? What did you think when you saw New York?
New York, what I said?
And when you saw New York, it was so different
We
from
had
where
a
you came from.
beautiful farm
But I mean, when
house.
you just walked down the street, everything looked so different. What did you think?
Ours was a pretty big city. It was a commercial city. It wasn't
Yes,
such a
but not
bad-
like United States.
Of course not.
So, I mean, what did you feel when you saw all this? And
Who knew at that time? What brains do you have when you come when you're young from another
but
country?
weren't you just
Well, it's amazing,
Yeah.
of
like,
course.
this is
It's
this is
amazing to see. It's amazing to go to school.
But to walk into
I
New York
went-
and see
I
these
went
tall
to school,
buildings and
And I went to school, and I remember my teacher's name, and he says, "I'm not going to graduate you. I'm not going to see to it that you'll never graduate." What did I do to the teacher? I imitated him. I didn't like what he was doing. What did he do? He had a mustache, and he'd take his two fingers, these two, and he'd rub them like this all the time. He'd straighten out his mustache. I sat in the back there. I was a bigger boy, and I did the same thing.
were you always older in your class because the fact that
Yeah,
you
of
didn't
the
speak
age,
English?
of the age. Yeah.
Because you couldn't
Yeah.
speak the
Well,
language.
we had a boy 17 years old. His name was Finkelstein.
Oh, the
And
same
his
problem.
father said, "I'll never take you out of school until you graduate. Never take
So
you
you
out."
were with little 5 and 6-year-olds, and you were 14
Well, when do you graduate usually?
in high school.
14.
No.
About
Plain public school.
what, 12,
Well, that's right. And I was old. I was about 16 or something.
and
like
he
that.
was 17.
Yeah.
Ay, very
The 17-year-old. Something happened, which is dirty. I'm going to tell you, which is I shouldn't put it on there. He was masturbating, the 17-year-old,
in school,
in school.
and you
And
kicked him out.
we had a drawing teacher. You know about a drawing teacher? And we're supposed to draw.
Artist.
Oh, and somebody drew a picture of him.
No, he did not. He played, and she said, "What have you got there? I want you to bring it back. I want you to bring it over." Now the kids all knew what was going on,
Oh, she thought he. Oh,
and she didn't listen. She went over there, and he had us out,
yeah.
and she lifted up the desk like this. You can imagine what they laughed at was from all the boys.
Oh,
Isn't that terrible? And you know what happened? She said, "Everybody put your hands on the on the desk." Everybody's failed for that turn.
oh, well, it's not a very nice teacher. Huh?
Isn't it? Well, she did the right thing because everybody left. She taught us a lesson.
Yeah.
And I remember also in school when I was there.
This is the United States now.
Sure, United States. I'm talking
In
about.
New York.
I
What
was
part of New York?
in Bronx.
Longwood
We lived
High
in Bronx.
So where did your
Longwood School.
your father? Where did
PS 52.
he had his apartment in the Bronx?
He prepared us a 3-room apartment. We had an elevator, and we had a man that stood at the door,
doorman.
opened it.
So
The
you
doorman
must have thought
opened
this
the
was
door.
a nice place.
Sure, my father got us a real nice place.
We lived in Miss Schwartz for a whole month.
We lived in the same building, and she taught my mother everything. She took her to the market. She broke her in to know something about
She
the
made
United
her
States.
get an abortion.
Yeah, sure. She made her an abortion
Oh,
too.
she got an abortion?
Yeah, sure.
Really?
She shouldn't.
I remember that.
She shouldn't have. She shouldn't have.
Oh, so you would have had another brother or a sister?
Yeah.
But she didn't want any more children?
No, she was afraid.
American.
She wasn't American, I think.
She said, yeah, having his troubles now. Stop to live now. Don't have another child.
And
Who
my
told her
father.
that?
Mrs. Schwartz, Betty's mother. I'll never forget that.
So the Schwartzes took her to get the abortion.
Mr.
How did my grandfather feel about that? Did he care?
He was easygoing.
He did whatever you want to do?
Like him.
He didn't complain.
He never complained.
He was the boss.
I knew that.
She was the boss, so you knew what's happening.
Oh, I wasn't the boss.
No,
No.
My
Grandma
mother.
was. Yeah.
She was the same thing with Betty. Yeah, she didn't want to. Says that she only had little things on her ovaries. Says they can be removed and she should have a baby. Says why don't you clean her up? That's all. And she had to send her a doctor and she couldn't have any children.
Who?
Betty?
My mother sent him to the doctor?
No, Mr.
Dr.
Schwartz.
Taylor.
Mr.
Mr.
Schwartz.
Dr. Taylor.
Dr. Taylor. Who was Mr. Taylor?
Yeah.
Who
I
was
know him. I knew him.
You knew
He
about
said she had she never would have a child anyway. She said, scrape her, she's going to come back again. It's going to grow and be okay.
Yeah.
Betty blamed the doctor all the time. Not his fault.
The next thing I knew that Mr. Schwartz was there and his son was also he had a lot of deliveries there. My father worked for him and in the Bronx, New York. Whenever we were going to school, he went to high school already. Jack, he's still alive. Jack Schwartz is still here. He's not a healthy man, but he's still in the United States because Betty Levy is a brother. It's a brother. He learned. He got to be a druggist. See, and he made a lot of money as a druggist. He's still living on.
My mother loaned the first money, bought the trucks away.
Do what?
My mother loaned them the money
Yeah.
to buy the truck stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know that.
Oh yeah. Yes. Well, these things went on. So we had a push cart. You know what a push cart is? But it's closed. The closed push with a lock on it. And we used to deliver the laundry to the concourse. The concourse is in the back. That was a very fancy neighborhood. And we used to pick out the laundry and deliver it to Schwartz. And after that, I finished school. My father bought his own place. See.
On Simpson Street.
But I went to...
Was he still in the Bronx?
No,
Yeah, Simpson Street.
No, then my father bought his own place. Yeah.
Simpson Street.
Yeah, on Simpson
So you always lived in the Bronx when you lived in
Oh,
the
Yeah.
yeah. But, no, first that was on Union Avenue. When I left New York, I was without you. You were
Yeah.
still... They remained in New York. And I left to help my father. He says, you can't do it alone because they ask for a lot of things. And I grew up there and I know something about the laundry business, so I came to help him. So I helped him on Union Avenue. He had a store. And he sold that store. He sold it later on. And he bought another store on Simpson Street.
How long were you there before you came to California? Why did you come to California?
Because my father was here. He left.
Oh, he left you again?
He left Mr. Schwartz. No, he was dining there.
Yeah.
He did nothing but dining.
Yeah, in New York, in the Bronx.
And he came here and he bought a store.
Well, why did he come here?
In California? Because Schwartz's was here later.
Oh, they moved away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were here too.
1926.
So he decided he wants to be with the
Yeah,
Schwartzes
yeah,
still.
that's
So he left you all in New York,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's until
and he left
closed.
you again
My
now.
brother had to
And then I came to him first.
You
then
came
they
to him
later.
first.
Then they came.
And
later.
then they came, and then you moved into where?
And my brother stayed there a
941
while.
Interval.
My brother stayed there a while, and he went to school.
graduate school.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
He
he
was
till he
going-
graduated.
He was
Uh-huh.
going high school.
Uh-huh. And then you came to California.
Yeah.
And where did you live in California?
California, we lived on the first place.
Kingsley Drive. Kingsley. Then
Yeah,
on St. Andrew's Place.
Where
St.
was that?
Andrew's Place. near Franklin.
No, we moved to Franklin because my father later on sold that place and he bought another store on Hollywood Boulevard and Western Avenue, close to Hollywood Boulevard.
I remember that.
A few doors away.
I remember. It was just south. It was south of Hollywood.
And we lived on Harold Way, a couple of blocks down.
Now, isn't that something? I remember that store. It was south of Hollywood Boulevard.
Next to the drugstore.
And it was on the west side of the street.
Yeah, that's right. With the drugstore.
As young as I was, I remember that store.
Already, yeah.
I remember that store with the counter
Yeah.
and all the shirts and everything.
Where were the shirts hanging?
From a great big rack from the ceiling.
The racks on the ceiling.
Yes.
A lot of racks.
Isn't that something? I remember that.
People wanted with starch, without starch.
I remember that.
They wanted plain without. You had to separate the shirt, and we had ways to separate them. To know, you put a pin in, a safety pin in here that it needed starch.
He died when I was what? How old?
56. He died. He died at 56.
How old was I? Was it what, a year old?
No.
13 months.
So how did I know from that?
No, I don't
Oh,
know.
you
Maybe
kept up the store afterwards.
Oh, she remained the store.
Yeah, but you had the
I
store.
already got married.
On,
That's too long already passed.
I remember another little store on Hillcrest.
Hillhurst.
Oh, she bought another.
Hillhurst.
She had a place of her own.
Hillhurst.
She bought a
In
place of her own.
Osceola's neighborhood.
First was my father's place, and when she got married, she bought a store in Hillhurst.
I remember that too.
Yeah, she had that Hillhurst. And she was pregnant at that time, and she used to press clothes with the push the
Now,
press.
Hillhurst store was on the other side of the street.
Yeah, that's right.
On
Yeah.
the east side, it's near Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not far from Las Vegas Boulevard,
And
just
she,
south.
and she ran the store herself. Joe didn't like it.
And used to put me outside in the baby carriage in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. And we lived on upstairs, didn't we live upstairs?
Avocado Street.
No,
Avocado
Wasn't that the year that Daddy had to go
The
back to New
Suntec.
York?
The Suntec had the place.
For his mother? His mother was sick. She
First
had a
lived-
breakdown or something?
First
Yeah,
with
not there.
and the Suntec had it first.
It was right after I was born.
You lived in Suntec's place with the two pillows on Harold Way.
I was married then.
Huh?
I was not married then.
No, you wasn't married. See, that's when I met. I met Edith that time. She met Edith.
I fixed you up with
Yeah.
Betty.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Betty.
Good job.
I
So
already knew
where
Betty.
did you meet that first boyfriend of yours?
Uh,
Jack.
Not Jack.
Not
Sammy.
Sammy. Where did you meet
We
him?
used to go to the beach.
Through
Jack Schreiber.
Betty's leaving.
She
Everything is
used to
through
go
the
out with Jack
Schwartzes.
Schreiber. Yeah.
Everything
You-
is through
yeah,
the Schwartzes.
yes,
So
yeah,
you
we
went
were
from Kingsley
Yeah.
to when? Avocado Street? Or St. Andrews?
Kingsley, no. Kingsley, the
Harold Way.
St. Andrew's place,
St.
the
Andrews.
Wilton place.
Yeah, because she moved
So
over.
But this was all up around in Hollywood,
Yeah,
Yeah.
all
near the
yes,
store.
already in Hollywood.
near the store. Did you work in the store too?
Yes,
That's
I
right.
was going
We had a dog by the name of
50
Twix.
years
What did you iron shirts too?
No, she didn't do that. She
I
did
did
bundling. bundling.
Books,
The
books.
bookkeeping.
Putting
What did
the
you do?
thing
The
together.
delivery?
Well,
No,
the
she
store,
didn't
I
take her
helped in the
long.
store. She wasn't at the store. She had a job that time. Later on, she came to the store. She didn't come when she had a job. She was working already someplace for Singer.
Saba.
Huh? Didn't you work for
Saba
Singer?
Corporation.
Didn't you Singer sewing machine?
You already finished school?
You didn't work for
Come
Singer?
to school,
Sure, she finished.
So Morris
I
is the
didn't-
only one that finished school.
high school.
I finished public school.
Yeah, but did you finish public school?
I finished public school. And
Junior
I
high
went
school.
I went to
Now
trade
junior
school.
high
And you
school.
went to business school.
I went to
Junior
trade
high school.
And you went to business
and I worked
school.
in a drugstore.
What did you learn in business school?
Was good.
You learned how to do the
Type,
Type. She learned
Shorthand,
typing. Yeah.
adding
Shorthand.
machine.
Shorthand, yeah, and typing.
and typing, and
I tried to be a druggist. I tried to study. So instead of going out of school, I went to a prep school to learn to study for. At the same time, I worked in the drugstore. You know what they made me do in the drugstore?
Fill the bottles.
Clean the store, fill up the bottles, clean the dust off of it, and I used to deliver the prescriptions. And besides that, I sold booze for the druggists. That's when there was prohibition, and the doctors used to give a prescription for a pint or a half a pint, and it charged $3 or whatever it is, and they made money bootlegging at that
So
time.
it must
the
have been
druggist.
nice being back with your father again.
And then my father at the store, he also was selling whiskey and wine, also and she got involved with a fellow. That's the good story. She got involved with a fellow that was a shield for the police. See?
Uh-huh.
You
and
got
she
caught.
and she said, Maya, when I closed my store 7 o'clock, I had the store ready on Rampart Boulevard. She said, Maya, help me take this stuff over today. I was in Beverly Hills.
Good liquor.
So I said to her, let's take the whiskey and put it behind the first store in Clyde. Used to have great big signs. They used to advertise for, businesses. And she didn't let me. She ran quick to get to the door. The man came out and he held me by my sleeve because I knew there was something wrong. Tried to pull away. You know what I mean? So I tore his shirt. Well, some other guys came out and they had me.
Arrested.
So they took us inside, and before he took it in, first thing he did is sock me in the nose, and I started to bleed. Well, I didn't know what was going on. I did her a favor. She was smart enough. She didn't give her name.
No, Madam Max.
No, she didn't tell me.
Madam X.
She wouldn't give the name. So
I took one in the bathroom.
anyway,
Tore
she
up
went
my-
ahead. She had a bank book. She tore it up, threw it in the toilet to get rid of it, so her name wouldn't be there. And we stayed there over
Sammy
for
got
a
us
while,
out.
and they came with a police car and they took us to jail. Up to
Hollywood,
no, you went to City Hall.
yeah.
They
First.
took us downtown to City Hall to book us on the 14th floor. It's still there. They still book people there. 14th floor.
Yeah.
So the first thing they said, you got to take a bath. So
No, I didn't.
no, not you. They took me. So I had to take a bath. They gave us a soap. It ate your
Oh,
skin
like
off.
why?
Oh,
Uh-huh.
terrible. Lye soap, yeah. So I got dressed again. They says, well, they were 5-6 hours before when they booked us. They have to give us some tea. So they took out a bologna sandwich. I swear it was green.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's a sandwich. So I used better than that, as much as I knew. I took the sandwich, left it down on the floor. Says, you eat it. So he says, we like you. We are going to fix you up tomorrow. You're going to take every toilet. You're going to clean it.
Oh boy, you really had it.
I got it worse. I says, who got you in? The guys that were there were in for something else. Who got you in there? I says, is it a woman? I said, of course. What else? The woman put me in jail. Because there was a lot. They booked everybody. There was real. No, these guys that were in there were really.
Well, it's against the law to do that. You were caught.
These guys are. Well, anyway, she called up what's his
Sammy.
name, Sammy, her boyfriend, and he got in touch with the bondsman, and by 12 o'clock they had us out. They had us out of jail, and then the case came before Beverly Hills Court. And the smart one, they were fined, I think, $200 or $300 for it. That's all it was a fine. So she brings $100 bills. So you are a bootlegger. That's much worse. That was the end of that deal. So
That's very
I
interesting.
tasted jail also.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very
So-
interesting life because of me.
Yeah, we did a lot of things that unknown.
Things are so different.
Unknown.
Children that are born today, they don't have these
But
kind of
what-
stories to
They have
relate
no-
to.
They have not.
They're
They
not
don't.
raised.
They don't. You don't have what people were born in Russia or in Poland. Stories to talk about
later on,
today. What do
I
they-
can continue
what
as
do they
long as
talk
this
about?
goes.
My Boy Scout troop or
Yeah,
my Girl
right.
Scout troop. Yeah,
It's surely child's play.
it's
So
nothing.
later on, when I was in my own business, I met Betty. I'll make it shorter. I have to step on it.
How did you
Make
meet
it
Betty?
To Evelyn,
Okay.
because I know she met Edith. The reason I met Edith, when I came off the boat, there was another girl on the
Edith
boat.
who?
Whoa,
Schaffness.
Oh
One
yeah,
in-
the Schaffness. Yeah, I know.
Schaff-
chapters.
When I was on the boat, I met a girl there. She was a nice little girl.
The
Uh-huh.
girl
She
did
wouldn't have
that.
anything to do with me.
Yeah. And who was that? Edith?
No,
Everything
another
was
girl.
junk. She
She
put
lived
up
on
there.
Fickett Street. She lived where Edith lived.
I
And
can't do it.
I